What's up, guys? Welcome to another video of the tour through the world of Warcraft. Today we're going to be heading off to the lands of Northrend and going around there to see what you guys will be doing in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. So as soon as this ship gets underway, we can start exploring, and I'll show you guys the zones of the Wrath of the Lich King. And despite the fact that it's the land of Northrend, you think mostly it's just ice, it's actually pretty diversified. So we're underway, so let's go check this out. Now, the first place you wind up in Northrend is here called the Borean Tundra. A lot of people refer to it as the boring tundra because, well, there isn't really a whole lot to do, and the quests don't lead into any like great interesting stories or anything like that, so there isn't really a lot to see here. This is where you start here, an Alliance base, and basically you just go out and just do whatever menial chores they want you to do. There's a small Alliance outpost here that's overrun with undead. Surprised why they didn't put some defenses around it. I mean, God, the place is just totally exposed. And as you can see, it's pretty just barren. There isn't really anything here. But despite the fact that there isn't much here, there is some diversity here. There's the Horde Base, where the Horde players will be starting. This is pretty much the only thing of actual note in the Borean Tundra, and that is the Oculus. This huge thing has a little bit of a story about it, and it tells you about what's going on with the blue dragons and how their leader's gone ape shit, and he's basically doing something that's gonna basically bring about the end of the world because he's gone so batshit crazy. So this pretty much is all you're gonna really see on that's of any real interest in the Borean Tundra. So we'll be moving on. Okay, so this is actually the second starting area for Northrend. This is what's really cool about Northrend. It has two starting areas. This is called the Howling Fjord, and as you can see, there's already a lot more going on here, and it actually looks a lot cooler. It doesn't look so desolate as the Borean Tundra did. You see there's this freaking tram system that takes you up here, and look at this, there's these cool structures and everything like that. Look at that, houses and stuff. This place is inhabited by basically big people called the God, what are they called again? The Vrykul. They're basically like a ripoff of Vikings, and well, they're not particularly friendly towards humans. They are supposedly the humans' ancestors, and supposedly they threw away the humans because humans were small and weak and ugly. And it's home to this thing here. This is a dungeon slash raid you're gonna see a lot of. There's like two dungeons in this one building called Utgard Keep, and it's got like a couple dungeons in it, and they, for some reason, when you're doing random dungeons, these things come up all the frigging time. I have no idea why that is, but these are the only friggin' dungeons that come up, and I don't know why. It's just really weird. But as you can see, there's a lot more going on here in the Howling Fjord than there is in the Borean Tundra. So this place has got some really interesting stories, and you can basically, the quests are just more interesting overall, and of course the zone is just way more inviting, and it's just a superior place altogether. So we're going to be moving on to the next level up area you're going to be seeing. Now, no matter which starting zone you actually start in, you're probably going to wind up here next. This is Grizzly Hills, and it's very cool. This is like a very deep woods kind of place, and surprisingly enough, there was a place here. I don't know if this is it. This is called the Amber Pine Lodge, but there was a place here in Grizzly Hills that a YouTuber named Nixium, and I'll put a link to his page in the description, he called this place one of the coziest places in all of Azeroth, and it's pretty cool. I mean, you can listen to the music. The music is inviting and kind of soothing. I mean, this is cool. I mean, there's like quite a bit of story here. There's like a destroyed world tree. You know, as you can see, it was a gigantic ass tree. And it's not a very large zone, but there's a surprisingly lot to do in here, and there's some interesting quest lines regarding things like the Worgen and stuff like that. I mean, there's stuff for basically both factions, Alliance and the Horde. I mean, you can see some interesting stuff about the Worgen, these bear people called the Furbogs. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but maybe I am, maybe I'm not. You know, I mean, look at this. Look at the size of this damn thing. And you even get some hints about shit that's been going down with the old gods. And that's just really freaking sick. I mean, if you've seen any of my older videos, you know I am an old gods fan, which is why I'm kind of pissed that Blizzard kind of nerfed them. But, I mean, this is just really cool. And look at this. Is one of the ancient cities of the ancestors of the dwarves. They were called the Earthen. And, you know, this is one of their ancient cities. It's kind of like Ironforge. It's just built inside the mountain. And there's like a whole war going on here. And it looks really cool. And you see up here, the entire freaking mountain is cracked open. And you can see the city down in there. I mean, that is just badass. And these guys are throwing rocks in there and shit. I mean, that's just freaking cool. So this is a very... well, it starts off pretty lame if you go in the Borean Tundra. But, you know, it gets better. Oh, I totally forgot. Another little side note you might want to be aware of. If you want to fly in Northrend, you got to buy a cold weather flying license. Yeah, so that's just another way that they basically bleed gold out of the economy so people don't get too rich. And it is worth it so you can fly around here. If you've got enough gold, you probably are able to fly the second you come to Northrend. So that's always recommended. Now, another place you might come instead of Grizzly Hills, or even before Grizzly Hills, because you can actually come here at an earlier level, but it goes through the same, has the same level zone area as Grizzly Hills. In other words, it goes up to level 75. Is the Dragonblight. This is essentially the dragon's graveyard. This is the graveyard for all the dragons in the world. And, I mean, that in itself is interesting, but you're also seeing other interesting stuff. Like, this is Wormrest Temple, where the dragons meet and discuss, well, whatever their bullshit is. And it's also where there are shrines to each of the dragon flights. This place is also pretty interesting in, like, ancient WoW lore, or just Warcraft lore. Yeah, because, there is actually a ruins of an old landing. You actually see some ships destroyed, and that's actually where Arthas destroyed his fleet to keep his men from abandoning him when he was invading Northrend a long time ago. And that's cool in and of itself. And you see up there, that is Naxxramas. That used to be a raid in Vanilla WoW, and when Wrath Lich came out, they moved it over here. This actually pissed a lot of people off, because once they moved it to Northrend, they removed like one of the best items for transmog that you could ever get. So you can no longer get that item in the game, and that is the Corrupted Ashbringer. And that just kind of pisses me off, because when I even started the game, this was already here, so I could never get the Corrupted Ashbringer. But Naxxramas is still a place that a lot of people come for transmogs, as there is some badass equipment for basically a lot of classes, especially warriors, because warriors can get a sword, I think it's called Armageddon. It is quite literally the largest sword in the entire game. It looks like 4 swords just bolted to each other, and it's just so fucking epic. Another interesting thing for the tour is you'll see some destroyed stuff up here. In there is a cave. You can actually see the images of when Arthas took Frostmourne. As right there, that's the Cave of Frostmourne, where Arthas took up the sword and basically became a Death Knight right before he became the first true Death Knight right before he became the Lich King. So, and there's a lot to see and do here. Like, this path right here is actually a path created by the Titans, and there's a lot of like little artifacts and stuff like that. There's a lot of lore you can find in here, so it's really interesting. And we're going to be moving on to the next area. It's pretty cool too. Another interesting side note about the Dragonblight is that this place right here, this is called the Wrath Gate. This is actually literally the back door to Icecrown Citadel, the final raid of the entire friggin' expansion here, and there is some really intense lore and a really badass cutscene here that is for the watching if you do the quest line that goes with it. So it's definitely worth doing, and basically the Dragonblight is a very cool place. So moving on to the next area. Now this is probably the most unique thing and probably the least thing you'd expect to see in Northrend, you know, land of snow and ice, and that is Sholazar Basin. And that's because this place is a whole friggin' jungle, basically, in Antarctica. And it's pretty cool. Of course, the contrast just makes it very interesting. And the reason for it is like a lot of Titan lore. So there's some interesting quests to do here. You help out some furbogs and or whatever race. I think there's a choice between two different like primitive races you would help out, and there's just a lot of like weird Titan shit in this place, you know, and it looks cool, and it's actually kind of like it's got that whole mysterious thing going on here, you know. Once again, there's more Titan stuff. You see, look at this whatever the hell that is at the top of this mountain. Supposedly it keeps it safe or something like that. And this actually goes, this zone is like right on the friggin' back door of the final zone in the area called Icecrown Glacier. And you see like that's part of the glacier has like come down. I mean, it's just, there's just a lot to see here. I mean, you can see over here, I think it is there, you can see like undead duking it out with the creatures of the forest and stuff. Yeah, see, there it is. There's Freya. She's one of the Titan keepers, and she basically takes care of this place. You see zombies and plants duking it out. So we got a whole we got a literal plants versus zombies shit going down here, and that's just awesome. I mean, there aren't really quite as many quests to do here as like some of the other zones, but it's just really interesting. You know, I love hearing about Titan shit. Yeah, there's some more Titan shit up there. You know, so it's just really interesting. Another interesting zone is the one you see down there. I actually cannot fly into it. That is Wintergrasp. It is a PvP zone. And for some reason, they don't like anybody flying in a PvP zone. It actually was the first world PvP zone. It was dedicated to basically allow people to get their PvP on, you know, whenever they wanted. But as I understand, it was pretty interesting. And some of these fights in that thing could last a long-ass time. But you know, it's just like it's abandoned now. There's like nobody there, especially considering you can't fly in it. So there's no real reason for anybody to go there. So it's kind of sad, but I mean, you can see it looks cool, and that's all like Titan shit there, and I love that shit. So you know, you can't really see that a lot great from here, but it's not bad. It's kind of one of the things that people miss. Once you start getting up in levels, you might be coming to this place. This is called the Crystalsong Forest. As you can see, yeah, because it's got giant crystal trees. There are like no quests in this zone, and the zone is really boring. And normally there wouldn't be any reason for anybody to come here except for this. This is the main capital city. It's like a neutral city, so there's places for the Alliance and the Horde here. And PvP is not allowed inside the city of Dalaran. I mean, sometimes people will just get bored and just ride around the city. One annoying thing you're going to see here is that when people complete a certain raid, they can complete a quest here in Dalaran, and you have to listen to this stupid speech this guy gives called Ronan, and he gives the same damn speech, and it gets really annoying. There's also a dungeon here. This is it, called the Ebon Hold. But just listening to the speech every once in a while, almost every time, I'm glad I didn't run into it that time, but almost every time you come into this friggin' zone, there's Ronan giving that damn speech because somebody did a transmog run in Ulduar, a raid. We'll check that place out in a bit. It's really cool. And it's just so stupid listening to it all over and over again. So as you can see, the zone looks pretty cool. And it's almost kind of a waste, you know, because it's a lot like the zone in Vanilla called Silithus. You know, the zone is somewhat interesting, but there's like nothing there. You know, and that's what this place is. There's nothing here. Just a zone that looks good to look good. And we'll be coming on the next zone right about now. Now, we're coming here upon one of my favorite zones in this entire friggin' expansion, called Zool Drac. The trolls name everything. Every land, they always name it Zool something. You know, Zool Drac, Zulaman, you know, Zool Garub, Zool Tharas, you know, lots of that. And there is quite a bit to do here. And there is a lot of lore here, because in this place, the trolls are actually at war with the Scourge here, and you can see evidence of that war everywhere. And the architecture is pretty cool. You can see it's got this whole like you know, like an Aztec kind of look here. You know, it's a whole city. You know, the city's massive. You know, the whole zone is the city, and there's fighting and all kinds of lore. I mean, you're not just fighting the Scourge here, you're also fighting the trolls here too, because they don't want your help. They want to kill basically everyone. And look at this. They've got arenas and all this shit. I mean, it's a really interesting zone, and there's some really interesting quest chains in it and stories that even tie into like the dungeons and stuff. So it's like all connected, and it was just really told as a cool story. And to me, this is actually one of my favorite zones. There's so much here. I have never on any of my characters gone through all the quests to be found here, and I actually think that kind of sucks. I wish I'd done that, but it's really cool. I mean, look at this. There's like aqueducts and everything. It looks like ancient advanced technology is everywhere, and it's just really cool. So we'll be heading up, and we'll be moving on to the next zone and approaching what a lot of people consider to be the best raid ever. Now, where we are here is one of the zones that is like a max level zone, and that is called the Storm Peaks. I mean, this place, I really like this place because it's got so much freaking Titan lore here. I mean, there's so much stuff about the Titans here. Look at these are all built by, well, this wasn't built by the Titans. They used to be built by the Titans, but now it was built by the Titan Forged, whoever the fuck they are. And as you can see, there's like a lot of stuff everywhere, and there's actually you can actually see like machines. You see that big hole right there? That leads down into a huge network of machine tunnels. Now, this zone is actually still famous and still popular to this day for two reasons. One of them is this thing right here. This is the city of Ulduar. A lot of people say it's like it's the best raid ever, and it is a really cool raid. There is some badass transmog stuff you can get here, you know, so people frequent this place a lot, and it's really cool. And this is also the raid where you get to fight an old god, you know, and so what's his name, Yogg Saron. And the other reason this place is famous is for probably one of the most difficult and rarest mounts of all, and that is the Time Lost Proto-Drake. Now, the Time Lost Proto-Drake is a rare spawn that only spawns once it's dead. It takes 2 days or 3 days, 72 hours before it spawns again. See, look at this stuff. You know, that's all. That's what a Titan Forge is, like, you know, beings made of iron and giants and shit. But the Time Lost Proto-Drake just kind of wanders around this area. He only spawns, like, after he's dead, he takes 3 days to spawn again, and he has a 99.9% chance to drop a mount of the same name, the Time Lost Proto-Drake. People will come here and literally camp out here for days. I mean, literally. People will just fly around here for days trying to find that damn dragon and kill it. The thing is, though, the Time Lost Proto-Drake is a rare spawn of a rare spawn. There's another rare spawn that comes in this area once every 3 days, and I think it gives you, and it's actually more common. Out of every time this thing spawns every 3 days, like I think 1 out of 5 chances that the Time Lost Proto-Drake will spawn instead. And then you gotta hunt it, and then you gotta kill it. I mean, very few people have that mount, and some people will have spent years trying to get it. I mean, I'm not even gonna try. That's just too extreme for me. But the Storm Peaks is a pretty cool place. There's a lot of lore here. You can even meet a major wild character here called Muradin Bronzebeard. He becomes way more important later. And there's just really a lot of cool stuff here. I mean, it's just really dark and mysterious. I like to go down into the machinery. I mean, this whole mountain is actually a gigantic machine, and it's all underneath it. I mean, that's just... You go in there, it just looks so freaking cool. And, of course, you know, it's all Titan stuff, so it's everywhere. And there's a bunch of dungeons, of course, the raid. So it's just really cool. And so we'll be moving on to the final zone of Wrath of the Lich King. Okay, from here we're going to enter the final zone, because this is actually where you'll be starting off to get ready to go into that final zone. That's the entrance over there, and you'll be under the command of High Lord Tyrion Fordring. He's actually a pretty badass for an old guy, and pretty much the most prominent character in this expansion. So he has a tendency to yell a lot and pontificate when he talks. So you would head through here. Of course, spiders. You know, I fucking hate spiders. This place is all inhabited by giant spider people, and this is Ice Crown Glacier. I mean, you can see this shit. I mean, it's pretty cool. There are a lot of quests here, and this place just has this real deep, dark sense of foreboding and, you know, doom, like, all around you. I mean, look at this place. I mean, look at those damn walls. And this is just like the areas around it. You know what I mean? And that's not even... This isn't even going to get you... Like, you're not even at the actual fortress yet. These are just gates. I mean, this is like the freaking gates of Mordor or some shit like that. But, dude, man, fucking Sauron ain't got shit on the Lich King. I mean, Sauron had his fire and his desolate land. And there you go. There's the Skyfire. A Alliance battleship just goes around the area. You get a lot. It's like your quest hub for the actual zone, because you're gonna need flying to get up here, and from here you would like do quests and takes you all over the zone. There's a Horde battleship around here too. I haven't seen it, but there's a lot of cool stuff. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. The 2 blimp thing. It's not moving. Anywho, I mean, you do a lot of stuff, like you help out some Death Knights, you know, and then you help them take out like one gate at a time, like take them over and then keep moving. You can see, like, yeah, see, so you got the Horde and the Alliance. They like have taken the gate, and you have to fight these things. Look at these giants, skeletons of giants, you know, and you keep making your way as you keep going deeper and deeper into the zone. I mean, there's quarries. Some of these stuff is actually used as dungeons. There's like 5 or 6 dungeons in this zone alone. Let's see, we should be coming up on it pretty damn quick. Look, there's even a Vrykul village. I think they're all turned into like undead or some shit already. There's the I think that's the right there is the last of the main gates, and there. Yep, here we go. We're coming up on the Pies de Fesistas of this expansion. Holy shit, look at it. You see it coming into view? That thing is massive. Look at the size. That is Ice Crown Citadel. The final raid of this entire expansion, and it's huge. Out of all the raids, this is the only one, I think, where the raid looks as big on the outside as it does on the inside. I mean, you're inside and you're going through all these huge passages and stuff like that, but this place is fucking huge. I mean, it looks as big on the outside. Like, if you're some later expansions, like you saw next Ramas, and you go in there and you're walking around, you're like, man, this place looks a lot bigger on the inside than it did on the outside. But this place looks just about as fucking huge on the outside as it does on the inside. And basically, you spend a good chunk of your of the raid going up, up, up. And we're gonna see, because this is where you eventually wind up in the raid, and it's cool because you can actually just go up here by yourself. This is where Arthas became the Lich King, and it's not here. It sucks that it's not here in the outside part, but if you're in the raid, it's here. And that is the Frozen Throne. It's a huge throne made of ice, and it just looks really fucking cool. Okay, guys, and that has been the tour through the Wrath of the Lich King expansion and the Lands of Northrend, and I hope you guys thought this was interesting. And you can see why this is considered the most popular friggin' expansion, and I like it, and I think that because there's so much variety here and there's so much to do, you know. When we won't talk about places where there's nothing to do. Draenor, excuse me, sorry. So I hope you guys who have played this before are feeling a bit nostalgic, and those of you who are thinking about starting WoW think, hey, man, this looks pretty badass. I want to give this a shot. I want to go on adventures in this place. So I hope I basically gave something to everyone. So tune in every day. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know, see what else you guys want to hear me play. And I'll see you guys for the next part of our tour through the World of Warcraft. See you guys.